Ladies and gentlemen, and assembled company, I came across this fine poet almost by accident. A good friend of both of ours recommended her to me. And I did a mixture of it was intended to be a mailer, but all the singers and musicians dropped out, and so we had dancers, and so all we ended up with was literature, and a fine evening it was. And but I thought what we should do is actually give her a whole program to herself. So it is with great pleasure that I welcome Titi Dani. Did I get that right?
Absolutely right.
Close enough, she says. Ah, yes. It's a compares problem. It's usually when I'm introducing mayors and so forth, and their mayor's wife says, you put all these words in front, and I have to get all the words in the right order that I mess up. But I got that better than usual. Please, can you put your hands together and welcome Titi Dani?
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for providing me this opportunity, John.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
and we'll have poems and stories from
Um,
your and poems in both English and Hindi, and some stories, a translation
yes,
of in English of stories from your father.
yes. I think I should recite my father's story first. Then, if the time is remaining, then I'll decide to recite my own
Oh,
poem.
you must have some of yours anyway. But and tell us your father's name.
My father's name is Rajendra Dani. He is a reputed story writer and novelist from India. He writes in Hindi language, but some of the students have translated his stories in English. So I'm going to recite them, and I also edited those translations. So my country contribution is there with his stories. So shall I start, John?
Well, please start. Please give us the story.
Okay, so I have two screens. So one bigger screen is just next to this laptop. So I will be seeing here. So it may look weird to you, but I have specs, so it is comfortable for me. So the story's title is Mirror. It is called Aina in Hindi. So I'm going to recite now Mirror. Actually, this story is about a relationship of a son and his mother. So you will see some interesting conversations in between. Mirror. I was getting old. If someone asked me about my family, whether formally or affectionately for some reason, I always mentioned my mother at the very end. This would bring an astonished look on the person's face, and they would say, "Great, she must be really old. What's her age?" I would say, "Around 86 years." And this would lead to another surprised question: "Does she walk around?" That would always amaze me, and I would say, "Yes, of course." And that would generally lead to a sure reply: "You are so lucky to have the presence of an elderly person at home. Otherwise, people long for their blessings." To me, it seemed that they are bluffing because every other day we heard things like the state of old people is terrible and that more old age homes should be constructed for them. Poor elderlies are always ignored at home. They are living in pitiful situations. They don't get the stuff they need on time. They are always waiting longingly for the littlest of things, and so on. It's not a surprise that old people have become extremely lonely in this busy world, but they have chosen it on their own. How can one be stuck with the olden days and still be connected with the new generation? Really, I really don't understand that. And it's quite the opposite in our house. My wife is always working to take care of my mother. Ma gets everything that she needs. In fact, she has got more requirements than are necessary, and even those requirements are fulfilled. Whenever someone says that it's fortunate to have older people at home, my wife believes it wholeheartedly and she's delighted. She also says that she's lucky and believes that taking care of my mother would give her a good afterlife. If I'm ever rude to Ma or argue with her, she apologizes on my behalf. I haven't taken my mother's advice for anything for almost 20 years. I believe that she is not capable of that now. But this logic of mine is ultimately dismissed by myself. I get exhausted and let it go, thinking, who am I to extract logic out of everything? However, even if I don't extract such reasonings, they are bound to surface one way or another. There are people who look for such conclusions, and they are the ones who are actually living in the present. The ones who are not capable of knowing the consequences of their conclusions on the future. Now, this was my belief, but most of the time it was hard to say whether it was right or not. I think it was the coldest day of the season with a foggy morning. In such a weather, the death rate of old people increases. I believed it, and so did medical science. This made me worry about Ma. She was a patient of hypertension, but I knew how much, I knew how much the old people who were always trying to increase their lifespan understood this. I woke up at 6 in the morning that day and noticed that Ma wasn't on her bed. I started worrying. Old age had made her weak, so there was always a fear of her falling down while walking. But she did not care about our worries and kept roaming around. I went to the front door impatiently and noticed that it was unlocked. When I couldn't find her in the veranda either, I started panicking. There was one satisfaction though. The main gate was still locked, which meant that she had not gone out of the house. I came back inside, but she wasn't there in any of the rooms. On the left of the house, there was plenty of open space that we used as a garden. A door from the living room led to the garden. I did look in the direction of that door, but did not go there. I thought I thought it better to first check the washrooms. The kids were sleeping in one bedroom, my wife in the next, and after that was my ma's room. that also had an attached washroom. I checked everywhere, but she was nowhere to be found. I rushed back to the living room, and when I looked out of the door to the garden, I saw her walking in the open, as if she was enjoying the cold air on a summer morning. There was no warm cloth on her ears, and God knows why her hair was messed up. She looked worried. I said angrily, "You don't realize that you are old now? Even a healthy young man wouldn't roam around in the cold like that. You will get it only after you fall ill." "What do you want me to understand?" She asked me with double my rage, and I realized that I shouldn't have talked to her like that. I said, "You don't get it. Anything can happen at this age. So tell me what can happen." She stopped and asked. Studying her tone, I knew that she could not be controlled that day. How could I tell her that on such days she can get paralysis? She can faint. Her bones might break if she fell, etc., etc. I had to give an answer. So I said, "It's obviously stupid to roam around in such a cold weather." This made her pretty mad. She said, "Hey, do not talk to me like that." Then she stood there staring at me for a while and murmured, "He's grown old himself and now he's trying to explain it to me." She continued murmuring for some time, and at the end she said, "Just like his father." That was possibly the first time that I was hearing it from her, and I was shocked. During all this, I didn't notice that my son, who was in his youth, was standing behind me, listening to our conversation. When I turned around and saw him smiling, I was filled with rage. Then, for some reason, the rage turned into shame, and I slowly started walking towards the kitchen. I heard him laughing and saying, "Oh, Dad, Grandma is not wrong." I ignored my son's words. I just started brushing my teeth at the wash basin. Suddenly, I looked into the mirror above the basin, and what I saw shocked me. It felt like my father was staring at me from behind the mirror. So, this is the end of the story.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you, John.
With your poems, have you got them on the screen, or can you hold them in
Yes.
front of you?
Yes, I have got them. So, would you like to hear the Hindi poem first,
I
or
think something in Hindi now would be nice. It would be.
Okay.
It gives that variation. And
Okay.
if you can look at us a little bit more, because we can't get round to see.
So my next poem is in Hindi. Gala Sebo Ka Guchha. I'm talking about the bunches of Royal Gala apple. And this poem is dedicated to my husband. It shows my love and dedication towards him. गाला सेबों का गुच्छा. गाला सेबों का एक रसीला गुच्छा अपने बाग से अभी अभी तोड़कर रखा है मैंने तुम्हारे बैग में. गाला सेबों का एक रसीला गुच्छा अपने बाग से अभी अभी तोड़ कर रखा है मैंने तुम्हारे बैग में। भूख से उन्मत्त जब टटोलोगे इसे, एक हल्की मुस्कान तुम्हारी आंखों की आभा बढ़ाएगी। सेब का सुगंध भरा रस उसे काटने की ध्वनि के साथ ही घुलेगा बहुत धीरे से तुम्हारे मुंह में। दांत, जिह्वा और गाल प्रेम से एक दूसरे को बार बार गले लगाएंगे। फिर आनंद का आस्वादन तमाम इंद्रियों में विचरण करेगा। ये रस तुम्हारे रक्त में घुलनशील होगा, गूदा पाचन तंत्र तक पहुंचेगा। ये प्रक्रिया इस सहूलियत से घटेगी कि एक डकार तक नहीं लोगे तुम। ये प्रक्रिया इस सहूलियत से घटेगी कि एक डकार तक नहीं लोगे तुम। तुम्हारे शरीर की इस अनिवार्य प्रक्रिया में, जहां आभा, ध्वनि, आलिंगन और आस्वादन है, रूपांतरित हो रही होंगी वहां मैं भी। तुम नहीं जानते शायद, तुम्हारा स्वास्थ्य मेरी अपलक देखने की शक्ति है। तुम नहीं जानते शायद, तुम्हारा स्वास्थ्य मेरी अपलक देखने की शक्ति है। तुम्हारे स्वास्थ्य का सुरक्षा कवच मेरी राहत भरी सांस का स्थायी निवास है। मेरी प्रार्थनाएं, मंत्र, मेरी पवित्रता, प्रेम इन सेबों को धोकर रखने के साथ ही पहुंच गए हैं इनकी फल कोशिकाओं में। So this is the end of my Hindi poem. It shows my love towards my husband in various ways. So shall I start the next one, John?
Oh, please.
You
Yes,
want to listen in Hindi or in English?
Well, I think if we do Hindi and then an English one and then a Hindi and then an English one, it gives more. And if you can just swing occasionally, just to, even if you do it on a breath pause,
Okay.
just to look at us, because we like to make eye contact if possible.
Okay.
There's someone on the other side. There's someone on the other side of my gallery view that would love.
But
would love to feel like we're talking
eyesight,
to them.
my eyesight is weak, so that's why.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand why you're doing it.
Yeah.
But if you can just stop and just swing around and smile.
Okay, I try
think
to
someone
do it.
I think a parrot would enjoy that.
Okay. So my next poem is on water. Water plays an important role in everyone's life, and I have felt so many things about water. It's not just for life. It is my feelings are beyond the scientific facts. So I expressed in this poem. So this is water. Sometimes he's my friend. Sometimes he's my enemy. Sometimes he's my friend. Sometimes he's my enemy. Ha ha ha. Don't be surprised. I'm talking about the mysterious and magical water that resides inside and outside of me. Ha ha ha, don't be surprised. I'm talking about the mysterious and magical water that resides inside and outside of me. As above mentioned in the first two lines, those are the possibilities to the extent of my senses and intellect. But water is so innocent and easygoing. Anyone can spell magic over it. But water is so innocent and easygoing, anyone can spell magic over it. My grandmother used to do this with perfection. My grandmother used to do this with perfection by mixing this magic with her gentle blow to the water that she placed in front of God, as she believed God was the strong witness, the witness of her utmost reverence. She used to chant Neelkant mantras. She used to chant Neelkant mantras for more than an hour. Her trust, faith, blessings, benevolence, all that she received by the grace of Almighty God entered the surface of that water in the bowl. It trembled in ecstasy. I saw a light smile on this holy water's face. I saw a light smile on this holy water's face that turned into the rare comet. My grandma affectionately handed over the bowl to me. I took sips of it one by one. I took sips of it one by one and changed the journey of my life forever. Kissing thoroughly my throat, the water reached my body and found its abode in my blood. Since then, facing known, unknown, internal, external forces, I could not be destroyed. Since then, facing known, unknown, internal, external forces, I could not be destroyed. So this is the end of my second English poem.
I love that. I'm getting used to this. Yeah, now I think a round of applause. It's a beautiful poem.
Oh.
And I'm getting used to that repeated line form.
Yeah.
And the rhythmic is. I love it.
I cannot get rid of that style, John. Even if I cannot get rid of this style because.
Well, please don't.
It is in my blood.
Yeah, no. You introduced it to me last time you read, and now I'm expecting it, and it's lovely. And so
thanks a lot that you liked it.
Yeah.
It's a confirmation that I can carry on with this style of reciting.
Yeah.
So shall I recite in Hindi now?
A Hindi one would be lovely.
Yeah. So its title is विदा हुई सभी चीजें. That means all ruined and useless things at our home. विदा हुई सभी चीजें जिन्हें पाने के लिए शब और सुबह के फर्क को दंड दे डाला. चीजें जिन्हें पाने के लिए शब और सुबह के फर्क को दंड दे डाला, जिन्हें पाने के जुनून में सीमाएं भी पार कर ली, जो धड़कनों की रफ्तार पर बेलगाम घबराहट की दस्तक देती हुई और भी निखर जाती थी. चीजें जिन्हें पाने के लिए शब और सुबह के फर्क को दंड दे डाला, जिन्हें पाने के जुनून में वे सीमाएं भी पार कर ली, जो धड़कनों की रफ्तार पर बेलगाम घबराहट की दस्तक देती हुई और भी निखर जाती थी. वह बार, स्टूल और ब्रेकफास्ट टेबल जो कड़ी मेहनत की गाढ़ी कमाई से घर पर आए थे, वह बार, स्टूल और ब्रेकफास्ट टेबल जो कड़ी मेहनत की गाढ़ी कमाई से घर पर आए थे, किचन के फर्श पर अपनी जड़ें जमाए उन्हें और गहराई तक लेते जा रहे हैं. किचन के फर्श पर अपनी जड़ें जमाए उन्हें और गहराई तक लेते जा रहे थे. रोज स्वाद और सेहत भरी विविधता की मसाला या अदरक चाय, रोज स्वाद और सेहत भरी विविधता की मसाला या अदरक चाय अपने साथ सैंडविच और चटपटे नमकीन के बेहतरीन संयोजन की सज्जा के आनंद में ये कभी इठलाते, कभी शर्माते थे। हम पति पत्नी उनकी शाखाओं से टूटे बेहद पके फल थे। हम पति पत्नी उनकी शाखाओं से टूटे बेहद पके फल थे। देखो, अब वे हमारे घर पर खड़े मुस्कुरा रहे हैं, बीच बीच में हमारी खिल्ली भी उड़ा रहे हैं, हवा से हाथ मिलाकर अपनी धूल झाड़ रहे हैं। कितना विचलित हुआ था मन और समय उन्हें पाने के लिए। कितनी विचलित है आज वही चीजें अब हमारे घर से निकल जाने के लिए। उन्हें पता है हमसे बेहतर खरीदार और कद्रदान गलीचे हैं उनके कदमों तले। उन्हें पता है हमसे बेहतर खरीदार और कद्रदान गलीचे हैं उनके कदमों तले। धूल झाड़ते, पॉलिश से चपकाते, प्यार से पुचकारते उनकी खुशामद में। अपने ठाट बाट और रुतबे ने हमें इतने सब्ज बाग दिखाए। अपने ठाट बाट और रुतबे ने हमें इतने सब्ज बाग दिखाए। नवीनता के ऑक्टोपस ने हमारे कप्सिल विवेक पर औचक हमले किए। अपने ठाट बाट और रुतबे ने हमें इतने सब्ज बाग दिखाए। नवीनता के ऑक्टोपस ने हमारे कप्सिल विवेक पर औचक हमले किए। हम अपने घर में एक कोना भर स्थायित्व देकर न फुसला सके इन्हें। हम अपने घर में एक कोना भर स्थायित्व देकर न फुसला सके इन्हें। हमारे घर की ठंडक की दावत से महफूज और बेहतर लगा इन्हें म्यूजियम का खचाखच भरा गर्वोन्नत हॉल। हमारे घर की ठंडक की दावत से महफूज और बेहतर लगा इन्हें म्यूजियम का खचाखच भरा गर्वोन्नत हॉल, जहां इन पर नवल, प्रेममयी और ध्यान भरी नजर डालने वाले सैकड़ों में हम जैसे एक भी मनुष्य का नहीं होना इनकी खुशी का पारावार था। ये विदा हुई हमारे घरों से कभी म्यूजियम की ओर तो कभी कबाड़ खाने की ओर। ये विदा हुई हमारे घर से कभी म्यूजियम की ओर तो कभी कबाड़ खाने की ओर। कबाड़ खाना तो आत्महत्या के बाद इनका प्रिय शमशान है। कबाड़ खाना तो आत्महत्या के बाद इनका प्रिय शमशान है। सजीली आंखों के शोकेस में अब नए की बेशुमार चाहत ने कांच तोड़ दिया है। सजीली आंखों के शोकेस में अब नए की बेशुमार चाहत ने कांच तोड़ दिया है। फिर हासिल हुई चीजों की बेकदरी की आदत हमारे जीवन का एक अनमोल एंटीक पीस बन गई है। नहीं होनी चाहिए इससे धरोहर समझने की भूल। फिर हासिल हुई चीजों की बेकदरी की आदत हमारे जीवन का एक अनमोल एंटीक पीस बन गई है। नहीं होनी चाहिए इसे धरोहर समझने की भूल। So this was the end of my Hindi poem. So I think its battery is getting down, so let me switch on the plug. Just
we
give
are
me
living in a technological world. We need a little bit of electricity.
Give me 1 minute of silence.
No problem.
Meanwhile,
no problem.
Meanwhile, you can see my father, my
I saw
uncle,
Chandra down there. Yeah. So.
My uncle and my respected teacher is here. I can see them, and one is my friend Anadi Sufi is here. So
it's wonderful to have everyone on my screen from the other side of the world. I mean,
and if you can see John Apra Tiwari, she is my respected teacher. She has taught me everything, whatever I am because of her.
Well, we thank you for that. Thank you for giving her to us.
So I'm very happy
of course.
I don't know if he can listen to you. So just give me a minute. I'm give me a
yeah.
1 minute. I'm
If this
disappearing
was a stage, there'd be a stage manager running across to plug something in. But you're going to have
because
to do it yourself.
I will have to ask my husband. Just give me a minute.
No problem. These sort of things happen. Just imagine we're in a theatre, and there's been a little hiccup with the PA. Okay, how are we doing? And it's been a real joy. I had no idea of that form with the repeated lines in, and now, and once I'd heard it in English a couple of times, when I was listening to it in Hindi, I couldn't understand the words, but I got those repeated lines and I could pick up the rhythm. And I thought that was very well. I'm very grateful. I've been introduced to a new form, and for a writer to be introduced to a new form is always a joy. And she will be back. Zuhar, keep an eye out for her. Let her back in when she comes back. Don't lock her out of the theatre. That's the sort of nightmare. Yeah. Coming back. We've had to send down the road for the technician. Yeah, Apana, unmute yourself and tell us about the form. Oh, it's okay. Just a sec. I've got to put a message up to people. Yeah.
Hello, Tithi. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hello. Are you back? Are you back?
I'm Aprat Tiwari. I love Tithi and her writings. She's a great writer. Talking about the form, it is very common, and Tithi is very much familiar with it. She has studied. She has done her master's in English literature, so she must be very familiar. And I have just messaged
Can you hear me?
about Tennyson. I have messaged about Tennyson, the poem Charge of the Light Brigade, where this repetition of lines in every stanza, one line in every stanza is repeated. There is not to question why, there is but to do and die. This is a form I actually am growing a bit old, and
that's okay. That's okay. Thank you for the explanation, and thank you for giving this background. Now we have the star of the show back with us.
Yes.
I'm John and everyone.
We understand about
technical. I'm extremely sorry for this obstruction.
No, it happens. We are living in a virtual world where computers go down on us and so forth. We understand. And
it was actually unplugged and then mouse was not working properly. So I
Okay.
had to call my husband. So I'm back again. So would do we have time for another story, John?
I'd love another. What you want? Do another one of Rajendra's stories,
Yes,
your father's
yes,
stories.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and he's gone away from his screen, but hopefully he can hear you somewhere. He hopefully he hasn't given up on you, thinking.
No, no, no.
No, we'd love to hear another one of his stories.
Yes. So the another story's title is The Death of a Liar. Anantaram Nautiyal was found dead near a garbage dump in the city. No one knew whether he died late at night or early in the morning, because the body was identified several hours after sunrise. Normally, when people see a man lying like that, they say the idiot must have drunk too much at night. Ignore him and walk away. The problem is that nowadays people have a tendency to immediately suppress any kind of compassion they might feel for someone in distress. Undoubtedly, that is what undoubtedly that is what must have happened in the case of Nautiyal as well. And if there was an investigation, it would lead to the same conclusion. However, it's not such a big deal for a continuously expanding city as this one. The actual big deal was what came to light several days after Anantram Nautiyal's funeral, especially for the colleagues in his office. It's not surprising at all in this eternal world that someone or the other does end up recognizing a dead body. And that is exactly what happened. Babu Vidyanand Sahai, one of the employees from Nautiyal's department, had recognized him. Maybe it was because of the freshness of the morning that Sahai was in a spirit of goodwill, and he went to Nautiyal thinking that he had either drunk too much or had possibly fainted. Sahai's dying kindness had suddenly come alive, but no matter how much he tried to wake him up, Nautiyal did not even budge. Meanwhile, since it was a busy road, a crowd had gathered, but no one dared to go near him. There was only one person who could. A sweeper who was working at the nearby drain came and shook Nautiyal. And that's when it was clear that he had died at an unearthly hour. By that time, the police had come to know about the incident, and as per habit, they had guessed at the right moment that this case would be a dead end as well as a headache. They knew that no investigation could possibly yield any concrete information out of it. However, they also knew how to deal with such unfortunate incidents. So everything that needed to be done was done that day itself. They even got the post-mortem report quite early. The report said death due to a sudden congestive heart failure, which meant that there was nothing unusual about it. However, this story is not what it looks like. It's just a reporting of it. Perhaps it can't even be called a story under the genre's requirement, but nothing can be done about it. as people who are trapped in their constrained and worldly needless engagements want everything is small and brief. They are always in haste to get rid of such affairs in this busy world, and no one wants to make a deal out of them. Anyway, there was not much written in the police report except that since Anantram Nautiyal did not have any family, his funeral was taken care of by the police. Now Anantram office would be the only place that could give any information. When he first came to this city after getting transferred from Ambala and was giving his joining application, there was this weird smell that filled the atmosphere. Everyone present in the office had felt that an unpleasant odor was surely coming from Nautiyal. His hair, mustache, and long beard were all filthy, and it seemed like he had not taken a bath in the years. It was possibly an extremely cold day 4 years ago. Nautiyal's body odor did not let him be a part of the office. Nautiyal's body odor did not let him be a part of the office. Since the day he joined, the atmosphere started to be so irritated that it got impossible to get rid of it. This was because in our country, there is no limit to a man being dirty and smelly. It is said that if human beings stay in one place or atmosphere for a long time, they learn to adapt with the surroundings. But people in the office could not get used to Nautiyal and his smell. Bottom line, nothing could be done against him, and everyone just held on to the famous Indian moral conscience, that is, peaceful coexistence. Even those who never kept a handkerchief started keeping one and used them to cover their noses. Strangely, people thought that they had understood Nautiyal very well just by seeing his superficial character. Generally, no one would talk to him, but if it was necessary, they would keep a definitive distance from him. After days of struggle, just a minute. This is really irritating, but what can be done? I don't have these things in printout. This mouse is not working properly. So I was saying, after days of struggle, people came up with some phrases based on the individual judgments that they had formed about Nautiyal. People had a habit of swimming on the surface and were extremely scared of exploring the depth or background of anything. And so they came up with small solutions. Widespread concerns were believed to be disorientations. According to the criteria created by such trends, Nautiyal was a disgusting person. Some people in the office thought he was insane. Sometimes during an argument about him, another thought came to light. He is the most miserly person in this world. The guy even refuses to buy tea for the peons. Due to the exaggeration of narrow mindedness, one or two people would say, he is certainly a Pakistani spy. Remember the days he took leaves since he has joined? It was only when there were riots going on the city. He ran away for his safety. So, no offense, I had to mention here Pakistani people because it's a part of the story. So, if there is anyone who is Pakistani, so they can understand that it is here and why. What is the expression here? When someone called him a fraud, there would be a unanimous agreement to it. This way, everyone would become a team and Nautiyal would have no idea about it. He didn't have a single supporter in the office. No one expressed even a moment of sympathy towards Nautiyal. There was one more thing that did not get involved in those phrases. For many days, it was limited to hot, whispered arguments. People tried a lot to find something that would help to overcome the problem, but what came to light only gave rise to suspicion, and no legal action could be taken against it. One day, many people in the office gathered near a cupboard, and one of them had a booklet in his hand. He himself and the others would peek inside the booklet, look at it with deep concentration, and then stare at Nautiyal through the corners of their eyes. This went on for a long while, and then someone said, he is an impostor. One thing is certain, he has committed some kind of forgery with the department. He doesn't look less than 50 years in age, but according to this service book, he is only 31 right now. There should be a complaint against him. Are people blind? There was a collective murmur. Yes, this should definitely be brought to the authorities' notice. That entire scene was repeated many times, but before reaching a decision, people would get divided. They wanted to save themselves and flee from the situation. This kind of exercise was conducted every day. No one cared to think about anything else, even though they had never seen Nautiyal eating, laughing, or crying. He wasn't even seen sleeping or roaming around playfully. They also didn't know which part of the city he was living in. Undoubtedly, this piece of information was too personal for them to know. Actually, after Nautiyal's death, his office could not get rid of it like the police, and it did not. The disclosure of Nautiyal's personality surrounded by mysteries has never been directly revealed. His true character remained hidden. His true character remained hidden from the naked eyes of everyone, and no one showed any curiosity towards him either. Many embarrassment letters were written to Nautiyal's address that was registered in the service book, but there was no reply for a long time. Then several letters were written as a reminder to the original letters, and they still did not get any response. All this troubled the department. The entire case was viewed viewed and reviewed from different angles, and that led to the collection of various types of notes in Nautiyal's file. Eventually, after losing heart, the department decided to send someone on tour to Nautiyal's residential address. And the next day, one of the employees left for Ambala cantonment. When the staff member reached Nautiyal's house, no one from his family was ready to meet him for a long time. The man found it really weird, but after coming so far, he had to complete his task. So he kept on insisting and eventually succeeded in convincing them to meet him. But the family members were weeping profusely. But he did not pay any attention to it. He was actually surprised to see that Nautiyal's widowed mother didn't seem as old as she should have been. In the family, there were four girls who were in their youth and one 9 years old boy. What could the man do? He believed everything that they told him. Then he took out some papers and started requesting Nautiyal's mother to sign on several places. But she began crying again and kept refusing to sign anywhere. The man was still helpless. The man was still helpless. He had to get his job done. He asked the mother, "Why are you doing this?" She still kept sobbing continuously. The man's condition kept getting weird, and he was filled with unprecedented frustration. He he repeated his question in irritation. Now he had such a firm tone that it was difficult to escape. What Nautiyal's mother told him was unbelievable, surprising, and intriguing all at the same time. She said, "We won't commit this sin anymore. It's been a long time since my son died. Till now, till now we have been this is really irritating that my mouse disappears. So I have to look for the next line. Bear with me for a second. She said, "We won't commit this sin anymore. It's been a long time since my son died. Till now, we have been using the income of deceit, and we cannot do that anymore." She began weeping again, and when she got tired, she told the employee that Anantram Nautiyal, her son, was a very sensitive man. Many years ago, when he was relieved after the transfer, he was really scared and also wasn't keeping well for a long time. He could not express his sorrow and fear due to his introvert nature. Different types of fears stressed him that night. He wasn't able to understand how he was supposed to support himself and his family on such a small income while staying so far away. Along with this major problem, there were also many others that he kept thinking about but couldn't get to a solution. He eventually fell asleep that night but did not wake up in the morning. That's when the man who was found dead near the dump came to their rescue. He used to be the family's neighbor, and that was his only identity. Even the family didn't know anything else about him. This city is far away from Ambala cantonment, so the man took advantage of it and started working in the office as Anantram Nautiyal. He didn't have any selfish reasons because he kept sending the entire salary to Nautiyal's family and did not save anything for himself. Ultimately, the man who was sent from the office returned to the city disheartened. The news that he brought with him again woke up the interest of people that had died after Nautiyal's death. For many days after that, everyone in the office kept saying one thing: see, I was right. Each man in the office was extremely satisfied with himself. A few days went away in such conversation and rumor, but the administration still had one problem. The man had committed such a crime that no one could understand whom to punish. People still did not know the reality. After understanding everything, the so-called Nautiyal had left a question. Since then, whoever gets to know this story has one reaction. Tell me, what kind of man was he? So this is the end of this story, John. I know that there were too many obstructions technically, and
Don't
I'm
worry,
also not
don't
not
worry.
a techie.
It happens in this world of virtual reality. Well,
But
thank
it
you.
it breaks our flow. It breaks audience's interest. So I
But on
apologize.
the other hand, it kept us just as it was getting to that crucial moment of the explanation. You kept us hanging. You know, it created a little more tension. It was fine. And I have to thank your father for that story as well. I think
Yeah,
we ought to give
he can listen to you.
a round of applause for that great story and a really unusual story. So if anyone wants to, before we finish, if anyone wants to have a word with Titi, and whether you want to speak to her in Hindi or English, we don't care. We'll just sit back and we'll just allow the conversation to happen.
Can I say something like thank you for bringing?
Hello.
Hello.
Just want to say thank you very much for that story. That was really a very unusual, a very unique story, and it didn't, for me, it didn't matter at all that there was a technical hitch. So you don't need to apologise for that. It was really fascinating and unique. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening to me carefully. And all credit goes to my father who wrote this story.
Well, he's a part of you, so you're due thanks in your own right as well for maintaining his memory.
He's around. His memories in the corner. That's Rajendra in the corner. But the story as it was just in Hindi. So we must thank both his students and Titi for just making it accessible to us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. And
I
I
would like
look
to
forward to
congratulate Titi's father also for being such a great inspiration for his daughter.
thank you very much, ma'am. And I'm saying thank you on behalf of him. I think he cannot listen to us. He's not a
Yes, of
techie.
course he can listen. No, he might not be a techie, but he can listen, I believe.
I hope so. After this conversation, I'm going to talk to him. So everything will be confirmed.
He has been a great inspiration in your life, and that is something
True.
really great that you have come full 100% to his expectations, maybe, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, I hope so, ma'am.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations to you, and good wishes for the future. The book is coming. Tithi, with your story also.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you in advance, ma'am.
Well, thank you, and thank you from the
It's
World
a
Storytelling
great pleasure.
Cafe.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone who is going to watch it later. Thank you in advance.
Thank you. And we've got some great stuff coming up. We've got Maria Whatton this evening. We've got our 100th storyteller tomorrow at 6 o'clock UK time, which is Liz Weir, fantastic Liz Weir, amazing storyteller from Northern Ireland. But she was one of those people that got the whole storytelling revival going back in the sort of 80s, 70s, 80s, and she's mentored dozens of young storytellers, so younger storytellers. So she's been a really big influence, and we've got her on as a special guest tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, which is probably like 1 o'clock in the no, it's about 11 o'clock in India, I think.
Even I'm going to listen to them.
But
I'll definitely come.
It's 7:30 over here in the evening in India.
But so 6 o'clock this evening, 6 o'clock tomorrow evening will be about 11:30.
10:30 in the night.
Yeah, 10:30. Well, thank you very much again. Can we give that story?
Thank you and namaste, everyone. Thank you.
Namaste.